What's up guys, it's Corey from SuperKamiGuru9000 and welcome to my review of Bleach, chapter 486. Not too much to say about this week's chapter. There were a few interesting developments and a few returning characters, but nothing too crazy. Now, in the last chapter we got to see that Nell made her triumphant return, and in this week she brought along one of her good friends, a friend from the past, Pesche. Yes, he is back, and he is just as annoying as ever. He's basically just there to be goofy. And of course, since he's there, Dondo Chaka is going to be there as well. Well, not actually. You see, he is a part of the storyline that's going on right now. Nell and Pesche are basically there to tell Ichigo that Hueco Mundo is basically being taken over by this mysterious army who we still don't quite know who they are yet. They go on to tell us that basically Holly-Belle took charge of Hueco Mundo after the Rancor arc, and eventually she was captured, and we have seen this in previous chapters, and Dondo Chaka was actually captured as well. We are then taken back to Soul Society, where we get to finally get a little bit more confirmation on things that are going on with Sasakibe, and oddly enough, we knew nothing about him before, and now when we finally do get to learn about him, it's only when he's dead. And basically this scene is at his funeral where he's being cremated, and you can actually see here that Yamamoto is actually very saddened by all of this. This is probably the most emotion I've actually seen from this character so far. And they go on to explain that he actually never used his Bankai in battle until this very point where he was killed. So it's pretty sad that we never got a chance to see it. I really wanted to get a chance to see what it was. We then go back to Ichigo at his place where he's hanging out with all of his friends, and they decide they have to do something about what's going on right now. And this is all working out perfectly because Urahara shows up just on time, and he gets ready to take them to Hueco Mundo. The end of the chapter brings us back to our mysterious villains, whom they just don't want to tell us about quite yet. And we learn that they're just harvesting all of these Rancor in Hueco Mundo, or maybe just the hollows themselves. And they actually cut away to Hueco Mundo, where we get to see this one mysterious soldier who's just sort of walking around. And that's where our chapter comes to a close. Still somewhat bummed out by the fact that the Bleach anime has just ended. This is still a pretty good chapter in its own right, and it is pretty refreshing. It is glad to see that a lot of the older characters are returning and coming to the forefront. Obviously, Nell coming back was a pretty big thing, and I knew that Pesche and Dondo Chaka were probably going to come back. And like I said, they're pretty much goofy, just the way they always are. The stuff about Sasakibe, however, was very interesting. I like how they're explaining how he was always very, very proud to never use his Bankai unless he really needed to, and that does suck that he never got a chance to use it. And, you know, this is a character that I really wish would have been fleshed out a little bit more, but I guess this is sort of the excuse to put him on the pyre, no pun intended. The villains at the end were being their typical selves, you know, very mysterious. The author clearly doesn't want to tell us who these guys are exactly, but still, they're very interesting. There was one new guy they showed this week with white hair, who, that's pretty much all I can say about him, and he seems to be on pretty decent terms with the big bad guy. The mysterious soldiers themselves, you know, I can't really say anything about them because I haven't seen them doing anything, and I've only seen one guy so far, so I'm interested to see what these guys are capable of, because they're very different when compared to the Shinigami of Soul Society. All in all, this was a pretty slow progression for the story, but it was a pretty entertaining chapter nonetheless. There was a fair amount of really good artwork, but it was still a lot of white panels that Kubo's known for. However, I really did enjoy this one. Even though Pesche is kind of annoying, I did like to see him again. And there's the promise that all of our big characters are going to be headed to Hueco Mundo for some really, really cool battles to come. So with all these new developments and the big new trip to Hueco Mundo, I'm going to give this chapter an 8 out of 10. Just a really solid chapter. Question of the week time. We're asking you about this week's chapter of Bleach. And my question for you is, what the hell is this army? What is their affiliation? And why do they just look like these weird sort of neo-Nazis? You can let me know with your comments below. And if you want to let me know what you thought about this chapter, please leave your comments there. I'd love to know what you thought. And remember guys, if you like this video, make sure and give it a thumbs up. That concludes my review today guys. SuperKamiGuru9000. Out.